on the other one, you bastard!
There's one question that remains on the mind of many Transformers fans. Why don't Hasbro and Takara license the brand out to other third-party companies? I'm not talking about your Make toys and your MMCs and your fans toys. No, I'm talking about companies that are more in the public eye. And when they do, why don't they transform? Why is it that all the Flames Toys figures are just action figures, not Transformers? Many people hypothesize that it is because Hasbro and Takara have a rule whenever they license it out, that you cannot make it transform because it will compete with the main brand. And I'm definitely following this hypothesis. Totally not because I've spoken to someone who's done work for Hasbro who said the exact same thing. However, there was a period where Takara did open up and allow several third-party companies that they, of course, licensed to make transforming figures, with the stipulation that they remain novelty pieces. We had the Optimus Prime phone, we had the Mega Drive Megatron and the Optimus Prime PlayStation, and we had today's topic. Most of them were licensed to a company called Sentinel, who are well known for making action figures, but not transforming ones. And, I think that lack of experience definitely shows. On first glance, Optimus Prime looks pretty good. Yes, there's a lot of great sculpting here. Yes, some of the paintwork is pretty nice, but when examining it closer, things tend to fall apart, literally in some cases. But if we're discussing the good, first up, yes, that sculpting. That sculpting is truly magnificent. It's fairly similar to some of the recent Flames Toys kit designs, almost looking like that Studio Trigger-esque Optimus Prime that we got last year. I guess it's sort of a predecessor to that. And some of the paint is painted very well. For example, the rifle is painted grey. That's not grey plastic, that's actually paint, and it works amazingly. And the windows work amazingly as well. It's also an incredibly clean Transformer. You can tell that they prioritized the robot mode. There is no visible kibble on the back. And the rifle looks pretty damn cool too, but aside from that, this thing has issues, quite a few issues. For starters, the first thing you're gonna notice is the plastic quality. I'm sorry, it's pretty shit. They've used something very close to Figma plastic quality, and that's a bit of a problem on a transforming figure. When you have a transforming figure, you need dense plastic so things don't break, but when you have plastic this weak, well, it kind of f***s up. Don't believe me? Well, this is actually my second copy. On my first copy, those two tabs broke off on the gun. Tiny tabs, weak plastic. Not a good mix. Second, the quality control on this thing is trash. I'm sorry, but it is completely trash. On my second copy, it came out of the box with a stress mark on the head. I don't know how it got there. I've been very careful during transformation, especially after the first incident, but that happened. And I still haven't gotten into the reason why I ordered my second copy. Ignore the arms for a second. I actually sent them off to other people because the arms broke on several people's copies. With the pins in there, apparently they shattered. So I decided to send off my arms to an unfortunate soul. You'll notice he's missing his faceplate because it fell off. Yes, he's a reverse version of the Revenge of the Fallen Optimus Prime, so I had to contact the seller and say, hey, the faceplate fell off and it was only like 2 weeks since I bought it. Thankfully, he was able to send me a new copy. God, I miss Toy Bento. That was a great website. Shame the guy had to shut it down. And oh my, we're talking about QC, and I just noticed something about this copy. You got the yellow paint here and the yellow paint on the sides here, and they ignored the yellow paint on the sides on my second copy. Missing paint application. So that's 2 wonky QC samples in a row. And I have heard of countless QC issues, missing parts in the legs, missing the cap from the Ion Blaster, missing fists, parts being disassembled, paint missing like in my case. It's just generally a really poorly handled release. And it really baffles me because there is a bit of an unspoken rule that Hasbro and Takara do not license out to companies for third-party figures unless there's a stipulation that they don't transform. This is one of the rare examples of a licensed transforming third-party figure. And why they licensed it out to these inexperienced morons, really, I don't get. There's no reason this had to be this bad. It's just a pen. They didn't have to do it this poorly. Moving on, yes, he's missing paint, but the paint that's here isn't that great either. The silver especially is applied incredibly poorly, especially in the thighs and the waist sections. It's way too thick and slapdash. There are so many paint bubbles and defects, and it just makes the thing feel far less premium. And keep in mind, this guy retailed for $70 in most places. $70, that is $20 less than a liter. That's the same price as Ectotron. Now I got him for $50, and it's still not worth that. I mean, I guess if there are other positives, I suppose he stands well, but there's not really much to praise here. The engineering as well is pretty stupid. The head doesn't lock in, it just pushes right back down, but oh, it's a Legends figure. Yeah, no, not on a $70 Legends figure. And a head staying in place should be one of the fundamentals of Transformers. Same with the chest, it just does not peg in, it just sits there. A simple tab is all they needed for this. This is an amateur project, so the fact that this was done by seasoned designers at Sentinel baffles me. And the articulation is also pretty lacking. Yeah, ball jointed head works fine. 2 ball joints at the shoulders, which I actually really like. Bicep swivel ball joint, but that has a tendency to fall off, so do be careful. Nice that it's got a double hinged elbow, pretty cool, and ball jointed that acts more as a swivel wrist. Everything from the torso up, fine. Waist swivel though, gimped. Thanks to these side skirts, doesn't really work. It's nice that they tried to add in a waist swivel, but I would have preferred they just omitted it entirely and focused on making this thing more solid. And yeah, the skirt armor moves as well, which is, I suppose, nice, but on a figure this bad, it doesn't really feel that good. Plus, the plastic's incredibly weak. I'm worried I'm gonna break it. Ball jointed hips, but no thigh swivel. Just the ball joint that goes out that far. That is pretty pathetic. On a figure of this size, a thigh swivel is practically mandatory, especially on a figure this expensive. But no, the pen has to work properly. It's a pen. You can do whatever the hell you want. Good that they've got a double jointed knee, but that will cause problems later. And you got a ball jointed foot, which does work quite well. So they're going for that premium fit and finish, especially in the articulation department, but really, that's an issue. Too many moving parts on this thing, and they should have just pulled it back and focused on the bare necessities. Make the thigh swivel work better. Maybe get rid of the waist swivel because it's not needed in this design. There are good parts here and you can get poses out of him, but the poses aren't fun. A figure should be at least fun to handle, and this just isn't. Now, size-wise, he is roughly 10.5 centimeters by 5 centimeters. As such, back when he first released, he was frequently used as a stand-in for a Legends Optimus Prime for a third-party Legends collection, and even then, I didn't understand it. Given that Legends were kind of smaller back then, especially from the likes of Iron Factory, he just didn't work. And if you're thinking about using him as a Legends stand-in today, well, no. We've got an amazing Iron Factory Optimus Prime. Magic Squares is a bit over-engineered, but still a pretty good option. And New Age is coming out with theirs in the near future. So, like, I just don't see any place for him. But as a novelty toy, there's not supposed to be a place for him. Yeah, but novelty toys still have to be good. It's a toy, ultimately. And for your size comparisons, a standard Legion figure, a standard Legends figure, a standard Earthrise Micromaster, and Crumbs. And full disclosure, yes, I have done things in the reverse order this episode. I've gone from robot to alternate mode when usually I go the other way. But that's 2 reasons. One, well, the alternate mode is kind of stupid, so I thought I'd just put it at the end. And 2, a lot of the problems with this figure, you kind of need to understand how bad the robot mode is in order to see what the problems with the alternate mode are. And 3, well, the transformation, it's got a lot of issues and it's better to show the other way. Of course, you're going to remove the gun. That will become the tip of the pen later on. And oh, look, the arms fell off just as I was telling you earlier. Should have made that a mushroom peg, but then again, with these weak-ass materials, it probably would have caused structural issues. You want to push down the head all the way, and to get it out, you actually have to pull this up, push it up part the way, bring it back down, and then pull it up the rest of the way. That is incredibly stupid. But for now, you just want to push it all the way down. Use the double ball joints to get the smokestacks back into these little parts here. Don't go all the way though until you've rotated the arms forward like so, just so you get enough clearance. The arms will also peg together there, and peg together at the top. You rotate the fists forward, and trying to make sure these don't fall off, these peg into there. Anyway, so this is double hinge, so you want to lift it up just a little bit. Take these panels and bring them out. Access these panels on the side here, and then use that tab to peg into the sides here. There is a problem with that though. One of these locks in incredibly securely, the other does not. The other one is solid, but it's not flush, and that is a bit of an annoying build quality issue. And yes, it is a build quality issue, not a QC issue, because both of my samples had this same problem. Anyway, to lock the waist section into place, you bring up this panel and peg it into there. You bring the back panels up for now, and then you gotta get these tabs out of there, and in doing so, you are going to chip the paint. It's this double tab system in there. It rotates around so that you can get the thighs in there. You also want to make sure it's all the way down because it's on a sliding hinge there. It's so stupid. Not as stupid as the legs though. You bring out these ball jointed sections that supposedly cover things up, but they don't really do a very good job of it. Why are there these tiny ball jointed systems on such a tiny figure using this weak plastic? That is just asking for trouble. You know these are going to break someday. You just know it. Which is why I've been incredibly delicate with this figure, but you shouldn't have to be delicate on a transforming figure. It should be solid. And now, here we go. You take this part, it untabs there and rotates around the back. And the same for this side. And the same for the thighs, which is why there's no thigh swivel. But there's also a problem in the way these are designed. See that? Exposed hinge. These are not pinned in, these are not pegged in. These can just slot out during transformation. Just right out of there. Pops right off. That's not just lazy engineering, that's not just misguided engineering, that is plain bad engineering. It's not a parts former. That should stay in place, you dumbass. Anyway, the feet fold around, pull it out, and then lock it into place there, because this will become the holster for the ion blaster. And then you'll notice on the front here, you've got the 2 slots there for the handle. So that just pegs in over the top. That's how you know which end it goes in. Then the thighs peg into the back here, and everything else clips together. And that's how you get your pen. And yay, it's a pen that you can write with. It's a giant oblong. It shouldn't be that difficult to transform. When you're transforming into basically a shape, you shouldn't need ridiculous engineering, but that's what they've done. Of all the third-party companies Takara could have given the license to, they chose one of the worst ones. It is a very ugly-looking pen, but you know what? I would have gladly accepted an uglier-looking one if the robot mode was actually good. Sacrifice the design here and make the engineering better and the plastic quality better. There's just not a lot of quality here. All the issues in the robot mode maybe would have been fine on a regular transformer, but this is a pen. It's not that hard, guys. It just straight up isn't. At least it writes okay, I suppose, but it's not the best pen I've ever used. And yes, it comes with a cap, and the cap does actually store on the back here, which is a very lovely touch. Hasbro or Takara should have handled this project. They should have used their own designers for this, or passed it on to a third party that actually knew what they were doing. Now, I'm not saying Takara should have gone with MMC or Fans Toys or something like that. Given the legality issues, that's just not happening. But there are plenty of licensed third parties that could have done a much better job with this, and they just didn't go for them. Anyway, size-wise, it is roughly 14.5 centimeters long, with roughly a diameter of 2 centimeters. So you can write with this, but given all the bumps and ridges, why would you? And of course, ye size comparisons, and he doesn't scale with anything. See, the only people who would be concerned about the size of this thing are people who already have a third-party Legends collection. And if you got one of those, well, you got better options for an Optimus Prime. There's virtually no reason for you to buy him. It's a real shame that in that brief period where Takara was willing to open up to more companies, they just delivered shit products. And the Sentinel Optimus Prime pen is probably the shittest of them all. Everyone gave this thing a pass. Every time I complained and said that this wasn't right, that wasn't right, I was met with backlash. No, it's a novelty piece. Yes, so is MePad Soundwave, so is Gigawatt, and those are perfectly fine. This piece is amateurish. It is not designed to the same standard that mainline and masterpiece Transformers are, let alone third-party figures that we all know and love. Well, some of you don't love them because some of you think that it should only be official. And you know what? I get you, but I don't feel it. I mean, it's a f***ing pen. It shouldn't be that hard to engineer. Energon did that. I'm not asking for this to be the greatest thing ever. I'm just asking for it to be adequate, and it's not even that. It's shit. If you collect third-party Legends, you're not going to want this because we've got 3 options on the market already. Well, 2 of them are on the market. 1 of them is on the way. And if you want it for the novelty, it just isn't worth the price. You're paying $70 for a pen, and that's if you don't pay a scalper. This thing's gone up in price over the years, and it's not worth it. And yeah, there's a KO you can find on Wish, but it still doesn't make it any better. I think the KO is still $30. For this? No, it's not worth $30. I don't see any reason to purchase it. It's an easily skippable and an easily hateable figure. But not all hated figures come from third parties. Some of them come from mainline. Some of them come from much beloved Legion series, and you don't expect them to be that bad, but unfortunately, they are so. So tomorrow, let's get into that.